Hello and welcome to today's webinar in partnership with Dassault Systèmes, hosted by Packaging Europe. Today we'll find out how packaging innovation can be accelerated with virtual twins. My name is Elisabeth Skora. I'm the editor-at-large here at Packaging Europe. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Packaging Europe, we are the leading intelligence resource for packaging professionals around the world via our website, as well as online and in-person events such as the Sustainability Awards and Sustainable Packaging Summit. We deliver daily news content, authoritative comment and analysis, case studies, and high-profile interviews with leading industry players. And we enable communication across the packaging value chain. So a little bit more about today's webinar. Packaging teams today face increasing pressure to reformulate materials and designs to meet sustainability targets while ensuring product protection, performance, and manufacturability. However, packaging development is still largely driven by trial and error approaches, with limited understanding of material behavior, product interaction, and manufacturing impact early in the process. And this can lead to longer development cycles, higher costs, and increased risk. In this webinar, our expert speakers will explore how virtual twins enable a science-driven micro to macro approach from material and molecular understanding to packaging performance and manufacturing validation. They'll also introduce a shortcut to value called Virtual Twin as a Service, in short VTaaS. And this is reshaping the CPG sector by removing infrastructure barriers and providing a secure cloud service which companies can leverage to access platform capabilities and scientific expertise to accelerate outcomes from material to manufacturing. And by modeling material properties, simulating product packaging interactions, and assessing industrial constraints, teams can validate packaging earlier and thus reduce physical testing and make better decisions across the life cycle. And our experts will also show how this connects material science, design, and manufacturing in a continuous loop, and thus enabling faster scale up with fewer surprises. So with that, I'm very pleased to introduce our speakers today. We have Fabien Roger, who is Virtual Twin Experience Portfolio Director at Dassault Systèmes. And we also have Walid Dargout, who is CPGR Industry Business Development Director at the company. And before I hand over to our speakers, just a little bit of housekeeping. There are 15 minutes at the end of this webinar reserved for a Q&A, and using the chat facility, please enter your questions and I'll put them to us presenters at the end of this session. You can do this throughout the entire webinar, and of course we'll try to get as many of your questions answered as possible. Should you experience any technical issues, please select the support button, which you'll see on the left-hand side of your screen. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Walid to get us started with the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Elisabeth. So I'm Walid Dargout. I'm leading our business development. So let me bring you today, and I would like to discuss the challenge that is becoming really increasing today across the food and beverage, the cosmetic industry, and in general, the consumer packaged goods industry. So for many years, packaging innovation has been focusing more on the functionality, on the branding, and on the cost. But today, the situation has been completely changing. There is a lot of change: sustainability commitment, regulatory change, consumer expectation, and circular economy initiative. So all these are forcing CPG companies to rethink completely their packaging. So packaging transformation is no longer only about replacing a material. It's becoming really a connected engineering challenge. And this is exactly where virtual twins from Dassault Systèmes become powerful. They allow us to connect the science, the engineering, the industrialization into a single predictive workflow. So what is a virtual twin before we start? So a virtual twin, it's a representation of an object in a virtual world where we can simulate the life of that object. So it can be a packaging, so we can simulate all its life cycle. It can be a formula where we can simulate the entire formula. So it's really about a digital representation that we augment with modeling and simulation. And this is And to do that, we learn from the real world. So we take the experiment, we take the data, we build models, and then we can run all these thousands of simulation in a virtual world in order to improve the real world later. So this is how our virtual twin works today. And today we have at Dassault Systèmes, we are having 4 virtual twins. So basically, today we'll be focusing obviously on the first one. I will call it the product and the packaging virtual twins, but we cover more than that. So the supply chain virtual twin. So think about simulating a supply chain disruption. So where the system can provide alternative for planning. The virtual twin of the manufacturing. Think about designing a new plant completely in a virtual way, simulate all the process before even implementing it in the physical world. And finally, we have the virtual twin of the consumer, which is really about detecting weak signals of the consumer trends, for example. So those are examples of virtual twins. And today I wanted, we will be focusing more on the virtual twin around product and packaging. But how this sits, so behind all this virtual twin, there is technology. And this technology, to create this virtual twin, require a combination of complementary technology from Dassault Systèmes. So this span different capability, formulation design, material management, the packaging engineering and the simulation, test planning, execution, and also the scientific knowledge, very important, supported by our advanced science capability and mathematics-based models, and product lifecycle management in order to ensure the traceability from innovation to industrialization. So finally, we connect all these capabilities with manufacturing scale-up and the consumer understanding, because innovation, it's only successful when it delivers the value. Across all these domains that I mentioned, data science, artificial intelligence play a central role, helping organizations augmenting the expertise, accelerate the decision-making, and transform the data into actionable scientific insight. So before explaining a little bit more the virtual twin, I wanted to highlight also what's happening today. So first, understand why packaging transformation has become so important today and strategic. Packaging teams today are facing different pressure. So think about the sustainability pressure. This company must reduce plastic usage. They must increase the recycled content, and at the same time, they have to improve their recyclability. So reducing environmental impact and meet sustainability commitment. At the same time, packaging teams must continue to create packaging that protect the finished product. So supporting the consumer experience and remain obviously economically accessible packaging. The second driver is the regulation change, or acceleration, I would say. In Europe, we have PPWR, the packaging and packaging waste regulation. We also have extended producer responsibility, and more broadly, circular economy policy that are becoming more and more demanding. And important, these changes are not limited just to Europe. So global company, for example, selling into Europe, they must adapt their packaging to the local regulation in Europe. But many countries are now moving in similar direction, including United States, Japan, Canada, etc. The third driver is about the economy. Through extended producer responsibility, packaging decision today is increasingly influence the business cost. So packaging is no longer just an engineering decision, but it's becoming also a financial decision as well. So at the end, it's a system transformation that we are talking about. A material change may impact the product and the package interaction, the barrier performance and shelf life, etc., etc., and ultimately the business performance. So this is some of the challenge that we are facing, but so the packaging change is not a simple substitution. I want to highlight that. It's really a system transformation, and you will see this later, how we can help and how Dassault Systèmes Virtual Twin help in this journey. So before going a little bit more further, let me highlight some key points around PPWR. So PPWR introduced ambition and measurable requirement today. One of the key messages is the packaging placed in the European market must become recyclable by 2030. This is important because recyclability will not be just an intention of a brand manufacturing, but become something that is assessed, measured, and classified. Another point is recycled content. Minimum recycled content target has been introduced also for selected types of packaging. So PPWR is not only a regulatory text, I will say, it changed how packaging must be designed, validated, and industrialized. So packaging become a measurable engineering and a compliance challenge. And if we go a little bit more on the PPWR, I wanted to highlight here on the PPWR side that under EPR schema, a company will place a packaging in the market, and fee will be calculated based on the type of packaging, the types of material, and the environment performance. So with this eco-modulation, this fee can be adjusted. Better recycle, reduce fee, but difficulty to recycle the packaging will increase dramatically the cost. So packaging is no longer just and only a sustainability topic, I would say. It's becoming really economic and a strategic topic. And this will involve not just packaging expert, it will involve sustainability teams, procurement teams, manufacturing teams, and even finance and executive leadership. So what's happened today? And we can observe that today, many companies are already acting, and thanks to PPWR and EPR, changes are occurring in the market. So let's take an example, for example, on the chocolate bar. So historically, many of these structures were multi-layered product, combining different polymer and sometimes aluminum layers to achieve the required, I would say, barrier performance. This structure often delivers great performance and great protection, but they are difficult to recycle. So to improve this recyclability, company must move to monomaterial structure. So for example, a monomaterial polyethylene solution. So this change is largely triggered by PPWR requirement. So when we move from polystyrene to propylene, or from a multi-material structure to a monomaterial structure, or even moving from virgin plastic to recycled plastic, we are not simply replacing one material with another. We are completely changing the behavior of the entire system. So, and how company today are affording this change? So historically, packaging development will rely a lot on physical test. So they will build a prototype, they will test it, they will analyze the result, they will modify the design, and then they will build another prototype, and then they will repeat the process again and again. So this approach has been worked for many years so far. But the challenge today is that this packaging complexity is growing much faster than the ability to run physical tests. So first, we have more material choice. Second, we have more constraint, PPWR, EPR cost, recyclability target. Third, we have more combination. Think about different thickness distribution, different barrier structure, different manufacturing constraint, etc. So when we combine all these variables together, we are no longer talking about a few possible design. We are potentially talking about hundreds and thousands of design combinations. And it's huge. We cannot make all this physical tests to validate all this design. And this is really create a business consequence, because this will make longer development cycle, will higher the cost, we have to make more prototypes, there will be more waste, etc., etc. The challenge is no longer testing. The challenge for me is deciding what need to be tested. And this is where exactly virtual twins become really powerful, because instead of physically evaluating an alternative, we can explore hundreds and thousands of combinations of alternatives before deciding to testing them. So this is how virtual twin will work. So how do we move from trial and error development to predictive engineering? So let's look how our virtual twin approach to packaging transformation. So as I said before, the traditional approach of testing reached their limits. So how we can manage this growing complexity today? As I said, virtual twin become extremely powerful because packaging transformation is no longer just a single engineering problem, but is becoming a connected system problem. So let's take an example of a shampoo bottle, for example. So imagine moving from virgin high density polyethylene to recycled high density polyethylene. At first glance, this may look very simple material substitution. But in reality, it impacts the entire packaging system. Material behavior will change. Product packaging interaction will change. The foaming behavior will change. The manufacturing condition may need to be adjusted also. So all engineering trade-off immediately appears. This is why we move from molecule to manufacturing. We can follow a workflow that starts with material science, then evaluate how the product will interact with the packaging. Then we can predict the packaging during the behavior during the foaming. We can evaluate different engineering trade-off. We identify safe operating region, and then finally we validate the manufacturability. So it's important the importance of this step. They are all interconnected between themselves. So a packaging change that starts with the material, we can observe its consequence will be only visible when we evaluate the entire system. So let's see how the first step, how it looks like. So let's start with material science. So the material behavior. This is the foundation of everything. So before we can simulate a packaging performance, we first need to understand the material itself. So when we introduce recycled content, the material behavior change at the molecular level. And this is where the complexity really starts. We are no longer working with, I would say, with a perfectly homogeneous material. So the molecular organization changes, the variability increase, the thermal response may evolve, so the flow behavior during all the process may change. So a small variation in the molecule may later create instability during foaming, during manufacturing process, during stacking, etc. So this is where virtual twin of material become extremely powerful. So we can simulate the molecular interaction and predict the material properties before physical testing. So we can use mechanistics model grounded with our physics and chemistry knowledge, combine it with hybrid approach like using AI, machine learning, and data-driven approach. So we can better understand the behavior of this new material. And this will allow us, obviously, to predict the new properties such as mechanical, thermal, and diffusion property, etc. So let me show you a short video, our first video about what is molecular interaction about.
This example shows how virtual twin of material can help us understand and predict material behavior at the molecular level. Using molecular modeling, chemistry simulation, and molecular dynamics, scientists can explore new materials, study molecular interaction, and evaluate material property under different conditions. The objective is to better understand material behavior and accelerate innovation before physical testing.
This is amazing, but understanding the material, it's only a first step. So how this material will interact with the packaging. This is very important. Today, in companies, many companies, the formulation team and the packaging team are working in silos. But today, sustainability is forcing them to work together. That's why I call it product plus packaging equal one system. So the same molecular modeling approach that I showed you before can help us to understand how an ingredient, how a fragrance, how a flavor, additives, polymer, and packaging material interact with each other. This will allow us to investigate phenomena such as migration, absorption, diffusion, barrier performance. So we don't stop building the virtual twin of the material, we extend it to build the virtual twin of the interaction between the product and the packaging. So imagine here in this example, the shampoo bottle. It can be a natural shampoo. The bottle may be mechanically perfect, contain recycled content, meets all sustainability objectives, and be fully recyclable. But after several months, the fragrance intensity may decrease, certain ingredients may be absorbed by the packaging, consumer experience might change, etc., etc. So this is so the packaging material can be mechanically perfect, but it can fail if we don't test with in the context of the product. So this is why product and packaging must increasingly be evaluated together as one integrated system. So once we understand both material and the interaction, we can move to the next step. So material may have all the excellent barrier, as we said, as we see before, it can be sustainable, etc. But if it cannot be formed reliability into a packaging, the solution will never get to the market, obviously. So this is where forming simulation becomes extremely important. So let's take the example of the shampoo bottle. This means simulating the blow molding process. We can predict how the material stretch during the forming, how its flow, all the distribution throughout the mold, and ultimately how the final package will behave. One of the most important output is the thickness distribution, because thickness is really uniform through the package. So we may have some zone they are thinner, some zone they are excess. So and all this local variation can create weak zone that may later fail during transportation, consumer usage, or the manufacturability. So traditionally, all this issue, we find them when we are at the tooling investment, after prototyping, or during the industrial validation. At this stage, modification will cost a lot, and they will be very expensive. Tooling change become costly, and project timeline obviously will increase. Virtual twin here will identify many of these issues before physical tooling exists. So we can anticipate virtually all these problems, and we can avoid all this cost investment. So we can evaluate all different geometry, different material, process condition, etc., etc. So this is just an example. But think that we can, this is a blow mold, but we can test the different packaging behavior. So think about top load, think about squeeze test, think about a capping, etc. So we can also test the condition of each packaging in its life cycle. And this is the second video that I want to show you.
This example shows how virtual twin can be used to validate packaging performance before physical testing. Using the same bottle design, we can evaluate cap application force, lid opening force, packaging robustness through virtual drop test. This simulation helps engineering understand packaging behavior under real-world conditions and identify potential issues early in the development phase.
So exciting how engineering is around a bottle of shampoo. So when you go to the supermarket, think about what is behind. Yeah, so the second step what I wanted to highlight here in our process is the multiple variability. So how we will take the best decision. So because packaging development is really about maximizing one single objective. Generally, we work to balance multiple objectives simultaneously. Think about sustainability objective, performance, cost, etc. Unfortunately, all these objectives, they are moving in different direction. So imagine we have to decide to reduce a bottle thickness. At first glance, this sounds like a great idea, less plastic, low carbon footprint, low material cost, etc. But what happened next? The bottle may become less resistance. The top load performance may decrease. The consumer perception of quality may change, etc. So a decision that looks positive from a sustainability point of view may introduce other risks elsewhere. And this is why packaging engineering is fundamentally to have this trade-off exercise. We are constantly balancing and competing with competing with objectives. And this is exactly what virtual twin brings. So we can simulate simultaneously all these objectives together, because they allow us to evaluate this trade-off before physical validation. So we can understand what happened when we reduce the thickness, increase the recyclability, etc., etc. And how to do that? So how to find the best balance? So traditionally, engineering will evaluate maybe 1, 10, 20, 30 packaging. But in the reality, this is that the packaging system may contain hundreds of thousands of combinations, as I explained before, different thickness, different geometry, etc. So the challenge is that physically testing all this combination is impossible. This is where we move from simulation to design exploration. Instead of evaluating one single design, we'll evaluate one entire design space. For example, we may vary the thickness, we may vary some geometry parameters of my bottles, and for every combination, we run top load resistance, squeeze performance, pallet density, etc. At this point, we are no longer talking about, does this design work? We are just asking which region of the design space work. So using simulation workflows, design of experiment methodology, surrogated models, and AI approximation techniques, we can automatically explore hundreds and thousands of these virtual experiments. So the objective is not simply to find a design that works, but we want to identify the safe design region that works. So let's see our next video, third video.
So what if we could design the perfect bottle by exploring thousands of possibilities instead of evaluating only a few alternatives? Using AI accelerated design exploration built on proven simulation method, engineer can rapidly evaluate design options, visualize trade-off, and understand the impact of key parameters on performance. The result is faster innovation and more informed decision, helping teams identify optimal design in minutes rather than in weeks. The objective is not to run more simulation. The objective is to make a better design decision faster.
Great. And obviously, there is another topic, which about scalability, how to scale this capability across the organization. And at the system, we have methodology, how we can scale that capability. Because simulation cannot sit only for a few experts, because we cannot have all experts on all packaging development. So we need to capitalize on the knowledge and reuse this knowledge to become and extremely very important. So the objective is not only to automatize the simulation. I would say the objective also to capture the engineering know-how and transform it into a reusable corporate asset. This will create library of engineering knowledge, library of proving methodology, reusable workflow. And this is the foundation of simulation democratization, because now engineering do not need to be a simulation expert, but he can leverage the simulation to interpret all the results. And this is where concepts such as a workflow template, process automation, and guided user experience become extremely powerful. And let's see this next video, our fourth video.
So here simulation expertise is captured into a reusable workflow. We define a top load target of 220 newtons and squeeze force target of 20 newton. The platform automatically evaluates multiple bottle design, compare them against the objective, and help engineering identify the most promising solution.
So this is how we can democratize simulations. Now, the next chart I wanted to highlight is the physical testing. Yes, we do virtual testing, but at the certain moment, we need to run physical tests at key moments. I will say first to validate, for example, the simulation, then to confirm the performance, such as a top load or a squeeze test, and finally to ensure that the design perform consistently and at industrial scale. And all this information can be captured through a laboratory data capture solution, for example, to gather all the data that we can use later for building models. So finally, we are arriving to the end of our workflow. Here we will talk about and how we translate all of this into industrial manufacturing condition. So this is what we call the manufacturing window. So the manufacturing window defines, for example, temperature range, pressure conditions, cycle time, speed of the machine, etc. So a packaging that may look perfect in simulation, but industrial reality is very different. Machines operate at high speed. Material variability exists. Temperature fluctuation exists. Stability becomes critical. So a small instability may create scrap, production stop, quality deviation, increasing the cost. So each packaging technology has its own manufacturing constraint. Blow molding for bottle, thermoforming for yogurt cap, sealing and pressure management for coffee pod, for example. So each process will require its own stable operating window. This is why manufacturability must be considered at early stage. And this is the power of connected virtual twin. We connect the molecule understanding to material behavior, packaging performance, process simulation, and industrial manufacturing. So from molecule to manufacturing, everything is connected. And let's run our last video, 6th video.
Here the initial bottle design remains stable through the S-band conveyor. After lightweighting, the same bottle became unstable and failed under the same operating condition. By adjusting conveyor speed, we store stable flow and validate the solution virtually. In the second example, the bottle accumulation creates congestion and line jamming. By optimizing the bottle position and neck geometry, we achieve a smooth and reliable flow.
So at this point, we have traveled through the entire workflow, from molecule material science, product packaging interaction. We talked about packaging engineering to testing and validation, and finally to manufacturing. So the question now becomes very simple for me. What is the business value? Why should organization invest into virtual twins? First, organization can accelerate development cycle by 30 to 40% by exploring alternatives virtually. Second, virtual twins help reduce physical testing by approximately 30 to 50%, not because testing will disappear. Physical testing remain essential, but we will test what really matters. Third, risk can be identified much early at the development process. Fourth, the organization can improve the manufacturing efficiency by 5 to 15% by better understanding process window, material behavior, and production robustness. A design that is optimized for manufacturing will typically generate less waste, fewer quality issues, and more stable production. And finally, organization can accelerate the sustainability initiative. Thanks to virtual twin, company can confidently introduce 20 to 50% higher recycled content while maintaining the same performance, consumer experience, and manufacturability. So this is why virtual twins are becoming such important capability for packaging organization. They connect science, engineering, manufacturing in a single decision-making framework, from molecule to manufacturing. And to conclude, packaging is no longer only about replacing material. It's about engineering the full system from molecule to manufacturing. And virtual twins provide the foundation to accelerate the transformation while balancing sustainability, performance, consumer experience, and manufacturability. And to go deeper into how virtual twin capability and implementation and delivery works, I will hand over to my colleague, Fabien. Thank you.
Thank you, Walid, and for this great introduction. And as you have understood, virtual twin is the core of your business transformation, especially in the packaging domain. And as well as a level of complexity to be able to generate this virtual twin foundation and adapt it to your business is involving a lot of complexity in terms of technology and knowledge. And that's why we have extended our software as a service approach to a virtual twin-based approach that I will introduce to you to facilitate the adoption of this virtual twin creation and usage to serve your business challenge and needs. So first, how does it work? It's based on 3 pillars. First one is operated on the 3D Experience platform with a dedicated cockpit to manage and operate all your collaboration on subscription. Second, of course, it's based on the fact that we have defined and developed a virtual twin foundation and factory to be able to generate this virtual twin that you have seen through different examples at different level, from the molecular level, from the material science level, from the engineering process level, as well as the manufacturing one. So it's all the combination and creation of this different level of virtual twin for which we have developed this foundation to be able to accelerate the fact that we can tailor this virtual twin specifically for your business purpose and usage. And finally, what is the most important is the experience that you will get access to get benefits from this different virtual twin layer in order to analyze, simulate, optimize, and be able to take the right decision in terms of design alternative options on different material studies, behavior and validation through all the engineering and manufacturing cycle. So as you have understood, our virtual twin-based model is leveraging 3 different aspects. First one is our technology. It's all the power of the technology we have developed in all the different domains that you have seen illustrated by Walid. Second is our know-how, which is all the advanced scientific assets that we have developed around formulation, virtual skin, sensory, stability, solubility, permeability, material library, screening, etc., for which you can take benefit about all of this advanced scientific asset and knowledge. And of course, the third pillar is the expertise. It's your expertise in your domain, but it's as well the expertise of our teams into the chemistry, polymer science, material science, chemical engineering, biology, and physics that you can take benefit around this virtual twin based approach. And finally, it's one new way of delivering to you the values that you can take benefit by one unique package, one unique subscription price and model, on one unique contract, which makes things much more easier. In terms of global workflow, how does it work? So we have our cloud-based 3D Experience platform that you have seen through different examples that is deployed and tailored for your specific needs. So pre-configured and to start the collaboration and the usage. Of course, based on specific inputs on context that you want us to study, we inject all your customer-specific context and data to generate the first virtual twin and the predictive model that we build, that we validate, and that we make available based on all the different pieces of technology that we have. And of course, we as well deliver the third element, which is the experience through dashboard and virtual advisors that you will be able to use to access, predict, simulate, and optimize all the different formulation, engineering process, and manufacturing process to deliver to you the value that you are looking for in the studies result that you are looking for. One example of this that we built recently with Groupe Rocher is a good illustration of this model that we have put in place. So Groupe Rocher is a French company that is in charge of brands like Yves Rocher, Sabon, Arbonne, on Pierre Rico. And their challenge was how they can accelerate time to market to be more effective into their cosmetic product development and to increase the claims of their products. And that's the kind of co-developed approach between Dassault Systèmes and Groupe Rocher that we have put in place in order to accelerate all of their physical test capacity, their formulation prediction to make it more effective, and as well to augment all the formulation testing and accelerate time for formulation testing to provide them all specific value. So 2 domains of engagement. First one was on skin penetration, virtual testing, and second was on predicting and simulating formulation effectiveness. And that's the kind of statement that you can see that we have been able to reach through an AI design model, machine learning model that we have built based on their historical data, as well to be able to better predict any, I would say, formulation, evolution, or changes that they would like to simulate into the virtual world before going to the physical test, and as well to be able then to extend it to the impact on the engineering and manufacturing process as demonstrated globally by Walid. We have been as well awarded very recently, just earlier this week, by Stevie to get an award, especially in this domain. So this virtual twin-based approach into the CPG industry as a technology innovation of the year, as we have been able to demonstrate a strong innovation in all the digital transformation by delivering virtual twin-based approach platform to enable real-time simulation, optimization, and decision-making across all the product, manufacturing, and supply chain operation. So that's as well a good illustration of the kind of new proposal that we are releasing on the market to be able to partner with our customers to help them to solve all their specific challenges around packaging and formulation. So you will able to find more detail on both the solution regarding the design profitable and sustainable packaging by flashing this QR code, as well as if you want to learn more about Groupe Rocher and Dassault Systèmes partnership on announcements that we have been doing a few weeks ago. So through the second QR code. And now I will open the Q&A session for this at the end of this presentation.
Yes, thank you very much, Fabien, and also Walid, for a really interesting presentation and for sharing your insights. Yeah, like you said, it's now time to get to the Q&A section of this webinar. And yeah, we've already had plenty of questions come in, but yeah, keep sending them in. We'll try to get through as many of them as possible, but obviously if we don't get around to answering your questions, you can see on the screen, you can scan the QR codes to get directly in touch with our speakers as well, to kind of take the discussion offline as well. Great, so yes, I think let's start with the most popular question that we had first here for this webinar. We've been asked, can you also model and simulate testing for fiber-based packaging, for example, cartons, molded pulp trays, etc.?
Yes, so we are currently, so we have our expert, let's say chemistry expert and modeling expert. We are working also with some customer right now on that kind of capability to model these fibers. So it requires some science knowledge, that we have at the system. So what Fabien mentioned before, when we talk about the virtual twin, we are delivering the models. So we have our expert working also with your expert, but to calibrate and build these models. So we have such expertise in our teams that can be leveraged in order to help you to models and to run these predictions.
Great, thank you. And somebody else asked us, what material characteristics must I know to assess the product and packaging system?
Yeah, good question, but it depends on the types of formula or the types of products. So if we are talking about natural cosmetics or food, obviously we need to know the types of products, understand the packaging, and then based on the chemistry of this interaction, we are able to, with the solution that I showed you before, molecular modeling or molecular dynamics, we are able to build these interactions and understand what's happening. Obviously, we can model the formula, we can model the packaging material, and we can understand all this kind of interaction. I want to be very clear that for the end user, you don't need to be expert on building this model to design, use the molecular modeling capability. Our expert will be building that, will be using these tools basically, but the experience that we'll be delivering will be maybe inputting some parameter of your formula or parameter of your packaging, and behind that, the model will be executed and will bring all the results.
Great, thank you. And the question we had, can you elaborate on how this tool considers human safety aspects? It seems that the model goes down to the molecular, it's not that hard a word, molecular level. So can it evaluate or predict migration of substances, which in brackets is very relevant for food packaging applications?
So this elaborate how. Yes. So for example, just to take an example, maybe not on the food or the cosmetic side. So think about skin irritation. So this kind of thing. So we can simulate specific active, how they penetrate your skin. So when they penetrate your skin, we can detect and we can understand based on the action of that actives. So we are able to understand virtually what's happening. So for sure, with our expert modeling this kind of capability for food products, etc., we are able also to model that kind of things. But I took the skin example because it's something that I think if you deep dive into the group Rocher case, I think there is they are talking about this kind of things. So we have these models anyway to understand biology and also to understand this kind of interactions.
Great, thank you. Somebody else is asking us, is there any limitation into the kind of complexity of packaging we can reformulate?
I will say there is no limitation because obviously we need to sit. Generally, we need to work together, understand the problems first, the pain, understand the types of products. So we have a team who come and will talk with let's say the customer team. We ask questions. We need to understand, and we need also to understand the availability of the data. Also, sometimes it's not just modeling capability. Sometimes we use also machine learning AI. So we couple this modeling capability that I showed you before with also some machine learning models, so we can do this hybrid approach, for example. So we need sometimes to collect some data to validate also our model. So like that, we are sure that what we're providing are validated and tested. So this kind of work need to be done a priori before building all these models and working together.
Great, thank you. Another question we had was, how long does it take for you to deliver such a solution in a specific customer context?
I will let Fabien maybe.
Yeah, I can answer on this one. So it's a good question. So based on the different related questions that we had before, of course we have all our different virtual twin foundation that have to be adapted to each customer context and each specificities in terms of you are talking about complexity of packaging, different type of material, that we have first to assess, to collect, and then to be able to adapt to the solution, to be able to feed this virtual twin foundation and being able to provide, I would say, a ready-to-use version that can start to provide the first simulation result and outcome. So it can come from take several weeks for the simpler cases, up to several months when we have to go into a very complex case with multi-layer of virtual twin definition and simulation that we have to go through.
Thank you. And yeah, another question we had was, do material science modules also work with materials that decompose or are reactive and therefore have a different impact to plastic over its lifetime?
Yes, because we are so we have done a project with a customer where we are designing the compostable packaging, for example. So this kind of techniques we have built, and we are able also to work on this kind of types of packaging, types of material that are more decomposable, especially if we think about sustainability targets. We are looking for that kind of usage, and our experts say they build this kind of models for some of our customers.
Great, thank you. Yeah, another question we had. What are the typical run times across simulation stages and overall for a molecule to manufacturing workflow?
Maybe
yeah, it's I would say there is no one unique answer and simple answer. It's really depending on complexity of the simulation we have to run. So you have seen a couple examples of material simulation to more engineering or structure simulation of the packaging. So depending on the scenario, it does imply a different level of complexity on capacity at the infrastructure level. So that's all what we can put in place to be able to serve this different level of complexity. So it's really depending on the type of packaging, the type of complexity of simulation we want to run or we want to be able to solve or study, and as well the number of different alternatives that we want to go through to be able to converge with the best material composition. So as well as for the manufacturing perspective, so meaning how many batch for which period we want to get the simulation to be run. So all of this, of course, is adapted on case by case basis depending on the type of studies.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's have a look. We had another question. Does the VTaaS have existing models that we could tap into, such as top load, drop test, and blow molding, or are these something that have to be developed especially for each customer?
Yeah, that's a perfect, very good question. So yes, we have developed our own model, especially if we take the bottle example, especially with already automated workflow to be able to simulate top load as well as drop test. So it's as well as squeeze test. So we have already developed a first library of this, I would say, a standard simulation that with an automated workflow that then we can, of course, apply to your specific packaging as well as a specific material of your packaging. And of course, from there, address additional use case. So yes, the intent is, and the idea, you got it perfectly, not to redevelop each use case each time we have a new product, but to reuse this library of existing capability that we made available and that we do adapt to the different product packaging and materials we would like to test.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, we've got plenty more questions. So yeah, I'll take 2 or 3 more before it's time to go. Oh, I think we've lost Walid for the moment. Hopefully he'll be coming back very soon, but hopefully Fabien, you can hold the fort. Somebody else is asking us, from a manufacturing perspective, does the virtual twin capture aspects like line efficiency, ergonomics, or operational windows?
Yes, of course. So you have seen a very small example, one quick example during the presentation from Walid. But yes, we have the ability to simulate line performance, line efficiency, simulate different what-if scenarios, as well as we can plug it to an ergonomic module if there is any specific worker tasks that have to be simulated, as well as some of the operational criteria of the line, on how it does operate, how it's connected to the warehouse. Yes, we do have all of this kind of different simulation capabilities at the manufacturing level.
Great, thank you. So I think we've got time for, I'd say maybe 1 more question before it's time to close. Somebody's asking us, with regards to formulation data, can you comment on the amount or number of formulations that are needed per product format that the models would need?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we do have customers that doesn't have all the needed data to feed the machine learning model, if we want to go with a predictive model, or a model that has enough data to be simulable. So what we could do, and that's example that we started with at the group Rocher, is that they didn't add all the historical needed data or existing data to be able to create this model. So we started first to create synthetic data through a surrogate model approach, that based on the existing data, we are able to extrapolate and generate more data that then can be used to feed and to train a machine learning model. So it's not necessarily needed to have all existing historical data to start to train a model, but we can as well start by generating some of the synthetic data that will be needed to train the model and to reach a level of predictability that is acceptable for you to be used from a business perspective.
And to add just what Fabien said, at certain point we may ask for a specific test to the customer to generate specific data, but just on spot. So like that we can validate also our synthetic model, at least all the model that we trained on synthetic, so we can validate it after on a real data test. So that's sometimes it happens that we ask a spot test data to train the model and to validate them.
Great, thank you very much. Yes, I think that's just about all we've got time for today. We've got quite a few more questions in that we didn't get the chance to answer, but as I mentioned, you've got Walid's and Fabien's email addresses there and some QR codes for more information. So yeah, make sure you make use of that and reach out for any more questions. Yeah, I should also mention that this webinar will be available on demand within the next couple of days, and you'll be sent a link to access it in case you want to recap on anything you've seen today. So yeah, that just leaves me to thank our speakers, Walid Dargaud and Fabien Rocher. Thank you very much for sharing your insights today, and yeah, thank you very much everybody for tuning in. Goodbye.